The forest air was thick, heavy with the strange scent of burning bark and alien flowers. She crouched behind a massive tree root, her green fingers curling into the dirt. Her name was Zalara, elite scout of the Varnak Empire, trained to resist pain, fear, and hunger. But nothing in her training had prepared her for this. The human's scent was still in her head. She had been chasing him for 3 days across the jungle floor, through swamps and toxic fog, across ridges lined with glowing thorns. Every time she thought she had him cornered, he escaped. No human should have lasted this long on Varnak Prime. Their bodies were fragile, soft, and slow. But this one, he moved like a ghost, silent and clever. She had seen his eyes once through her scope, calm, cold. But there was something else too, something that had made her breath hitch. Her orders were clear. Capture him. Study him. Kill, if necessary. He was a threat to their research, an unmarked human who'd landed outside the war zone. But now the mission felt different. Every time she breathed him in, something inside her twisted. It wasn't just instinct. It felt like a storm pulling at her mind. She had caught his blood scent too. Clicks back, fresh, he was injured. That should have made him easier to catch, but the closer she got, the more distracted she became. She could smell his fear, but it didn't feel like prey. It felt like a memory that wasn't hers. Her claws shook. She hated that. Suddenly, a branch snapped above. Her body moved on instinct, flipping backward, landing with grace on one knee. But it wasn't an animal or a soldier. It was him. The human stood above her, dirt-smudged face and broken armor, one hand on a vine for balance. He didn't raise a weapon. He didn't speak. He just looked at her. For a moment she froze. It wasn't fear. It was confusion. Her heartbeat was fast, too fast for a warrior of her rank. She stared at his face, searching for weakness. But he only tilted his head slightly like he was studying her the same way. Then, the scent hit her again. Stronger now. It wasn't just sweat or blood. It was something else. Something raw, deep, and wrong. It clouded her thoughts, made her muscles ache. Her chest tightened. She wanted to roar, to scream, to tear something apart. But she also wanted to pull him closer, to understand why he was doing this to her. She lunged, not to kill, not to capture, just to get closer, to smell him again. Her claws hit his chest and he stumbled back against the tree. She pressed him there, her breath heavy, her eyes wild. He didn't resist. He just looked at her and whispered, "What are you?" That question shattered something inside her. She wasn't sure who she was anymore. Before she could speak, the jungle shook with a deep rumble. Dropships. The Varnak patrol had found them both. Her commander's voice echoed in her ear, demanding status. She ignored it. The human looked, up at the sky, then back at her. He didn't run. He just stood there, like he trusted her. That made no sense. She was a hunter, a killer. But right now, with his scent drowning her senses and her pulse trembling through her bones, she couldn't decide if she wanted to protect him or destroy him. She stepped back and said only one word. Run. Zalara didn't look back as the dropships roared overhead. Trees bent under the thruster's pressure and dust swirled through the jungle. She vanished into the shadows, her heartbeat wild, her mind more chaotic than any mission she had ever faced. She wasn't supposed to feel this way, especially not about a human. She should have reported him. Instead, she warned him. And now the Varnak forces were sweeping the area. If they found him, they wouldn't ask questions. They would kill. No trials. No research. Just silence the threat. But that thought made her stomach twist in a way she didn't understand. Miles away, the human moved fast, but careful. He didn't know why she had let him go, but he trusted the moment. Her eyes had changed in that instant. The fury was still there, but so was something else. Something almost broken. He had survived war zones before. He'd seen alien faces, rage-filled warriors, and heartless machines. but hers had struck him deeper than any bullet ever could. He ducked under vines and avoided patrols. He wasn't trained for this planet, but instincts helped. And luck. Somehow he had stayed one step ahead. But now, he wasn't sure if luck was enough. His wound slowed him down. A gash on his leg throbbed with heat. Infection was setting in. He didn't have much time. Solara watched him from the treetops. She shouldn't have followed. But she did. She told herself it was for study, to learn his weaknesses. But her heart knew better. She needed to understand why his scent made her feel like her skin was on fire. It wasn't just attraction. It was something deeper. Ancient. Wrong. Her kind had tested humans before. Their biology was simple, predictable. But he was different. She could smell it. His blood carried something off-chart, something her ancestors might have buried or forgotten. She had to know more. He collapsed near a shallow stream, breathing hard. Sweat soaked through his torn armor. Solara dropped beside him silently. He flinched but didn't move. He was too tired to run now. Their eyes met again. "You're still following me," he whispered. "I don't know why," she replied honestly. For a moment, neither spoke. Just the sound of the stream and the distant hum of search drones filled the space. Then she pulled a small vial from her belt, a healing agent from her people. She handed it to him. He stared at it in disbelief. "Why help me? I'm supposed to bring you in, but I can't think straight when I smell you." He blinked. "That's new." She looked away, ashamed of her words. She was an elite warrior, feared by dozens of species. She didn't lose control. She didn't get confused. Yet here she was, sitting beside a wounded human, offering medicine, admitting weakness. "You're not like the others," she said. "Your scent, it doesn't just distract me, it changes me. Makes me feel things I shouldn't. Is that bad?" She didn't answer. She was afraid to. Above them, a drone zipped by. It paused for a second, scanning. Solara moved fast, throwing a pulse dart. The drone sparked and crashed into the bushes. The explosion was small but loud. The Varnak patrol would be here soon. She grabbed his arm. "If we stay here, we both die." "You don't even know my name," he said, wincing as he stood. "I don't care," she replied, "but I'm not letting them take you." They vanished into the jungle once more. This time, together. They moved through the jungle with silence between them. Solara led the way, clearing paths that twisted like tangled veins. The human followed, limping but alert. His injury was slowing him, but he didn't complain. She noticed that. Most creatures begged for rest. He didn't. Night fell fast on Varnak Prime. The sky turned deep purple with stars hidden behind thick mist. Strange cries echoed from the trees. It wasn't safe to stop, but Solara knew he wouldn't last without rest. She found a hollow under, a rock ridge where the heat of the ground kept the cold away. It would do. He sat down slowly, breathing hard. His face was pale, the wound worse than before. She knelt beside him, pulling supplies from her belt. She had no reason to care, but when her hands touched his skin, her fingers shook. It wasn't from fear. "Let me see your leg," she said firmly. He nodded and pulled up the torn fabric. The gash was deep, angry red, and spreading. She bit her lip. She had stronger serum but wasn't supposed to use it on enemies. Then again, he wasn't an enemy anymore. She wasn't even sure what he was. "This will sting," she warned. He only nodded again. Brave. Quiet. She liked that more than she should have. She applied the serum. His hand grabbed her arm tight, muscles tense from pain. But he didn't scream. When he opened his eyes, he met hers with something soft. Not trust. Not yet. But something close. "What do I call you?" he asked. "Solara." He nodded. "I'm Dax." She felt the name in her chest like a spark. Simple, human, but strong. It suited him. She stayed close as the medicine worked. Her body was reacting again. His scent was stronger in this small space. It wrapped around her thoughts, made her mind cloudy. She turned away and stood up. "This shouldn't be happening," she muttered. "What shouldn't?" "You. Me. This feeling. My species doesn't bond like this." Dax leaned back, watching her with tired eyes. "Maybe it's not about species." She frowned. That made no sense. Emotions were chemical, triggered by biology. Her people had control, but near him control felt distant, like something she had let go without noticing. Suddenly her earpiece buzzed. Her commander's voice came through, cold, angry. "Solara, your tracker shows you've gone dark. Report immediately." She didn't answer. Her hand hovered over the comm. If she responded now, patrols would find them within minutes. She should have reported the human long ago. She hadn't. That choice was already made. Now she was breaking rules that had no forgiveness. The silence stretched. Then she reached up and removed the earpiece. She crushed it between her fingers. Dax raised a brow. That seemed important. "I don't want to hear them anymore," she said. His face didn't change, but his breathing slowed. He relaxed. For the first time since they met, he didn't look like he was ready to run. And that made her heart pound in a strange new way. A sound broke the moment. Something heavy moving outside the hollow. Not drones, not animals. Footsteps. Varnak hunters. She looked at him. "Can you move?" He tried to stand and winced, but nodded. "I can try." Solara helped him up, slinging his arm over her shoulder. They had to disappear again. But this time, she knew it wasn't just about survival. Something inside her had already changed. Solara moved through the jungle shadows with Dax leaning against her side. His steps were uneven, but he didn't complain. She carried most of his weight, without showing strain. She had carried wounded soldiers before, but this was different. Her chest felt tight every time he stumbled. Behind them, soft crunches and distant war cries echoed through the trees. Varnak hunters were closing in, not soldiers. These were the trackers, silent and ruthless. They didn't take prisoners, and they would not understand why she was helping a human. "We're being hunted," she said quietly. "I figured," Dax replied, breathing hard. "You always sound calm." "I'm not calm," she whispered. That surprised him. He looked at her even while limping. Her face showed no fear, but her eyes, deep orange, glowing faintly in the dark, held something softer now. A silent fire. She was changing, and she knew it. They reached a wide root bridge stretching across a pit of glowing fog. It was old and slippery. One wrong step would mean a fall into poisonous vines. Solara stepped forward, testing each root. Dax followed, slowly. Halfway across, a sharp whistle cut through the air. A dart. It grazed Zalara's arm. She hissed and turned, spotting 3 Varnak hunters at the edge of the pit. One of them pointed at her, shocked. "Traitor!" he shouted. Dax grabbed Solara's waist as she staggered. Her arm was burning. The dart had venom. She pushed forward, not showing pain. They had to make it across. Another dart flew but missed. Then a deep crack echoed beneath them. The root bridge was breaking. Solara made a choice. She shoved Dax forward with all her strength. He tumbled across the edge, barely grabbing a branch. Behind him, the roots snapped and she fell with them. Dax screamed her name, but she didn't hit the pit. She landed hard on a lower root, scraping her side. Pain rushed through her, but she was alive. Above, Dax looked down in panic. "I'm coming," he shouted. "Stay there," she growled. But he was already climbing down, ignoring the pain in his leg. She tried to stop him, but he reached her, breathing hard, eyes wide. "You're insane," she said. He smiled through the sweat. "So are you." They laughed. It was brief, sharp, strange, but real. She leaned on him this time as they moved to the pit's edge and climbed back to safety. The hunters were gone for now. Maybe they thought she had fallen to her death. Maybe they would report her as lost. That gave them time. Later that night, they camped in a deep cave near a waterfall. Solara's wound was worse now. She hid it, at first, but Dax noticed. "You need rest," he said. "You need healing more," she replied. "Too bad. I'm stubborn." He knelt beside her, cleaned her arm, and wrapped it with strips from his own gear. His touch was careful but not afraid. That made her feel warmer than any fire could. She watched him work, feeling his breath near her cheek. Her heart beat faster. The scent that had once confused her was now something she longed for. It didn't cloud her mind anymore. It focused her. It made her feel alive. "I don't understand this," she whispered. "Neither do I," he said, "but I don't want it to stop." She didn't answer. She just stared at him. For the first time, she realized she wasn't just protecting him because of a strange reaction. She cared. Deeply. And that scared her more than any hunter ever could. Rain fell gently outside the cave, washing the jungle in soft light and distant thunder. Solara sat by the opening, her back against the stone wall, eyes scanning the trees. Dax was sleeping, finally, after the pain had forced him to rest. His breathing was steady, one arm across his chest, face calm. She had never seen a human sleep up close, so unguarded, so vulnerable. And yet, there was something strong about him, even in stillness. She wondered if he knew what he had done to her, what he was still doing. Every breath he took stirred something deeper inside her. Her people would say it was a flaw, a failure in her discipline. She was meant to follow logic, not instinct. But no logic could explain why her heart raced when he moved, why her mind clouded when his scent touched the air. She turned her head sharply. Something outside shifted. A shadow passed through the trees. Tall, wide, cloaked in black armor. Not a hunter. Not Varnak. Something worse. She rose silently, every movement controlled. The figure stepped closer. It scanned the area with red, glowing eyes. Then it paused, sniffing the air. Her heart dropped. It wasn't looking for both of them, it was looking for him. Dax stirred behind her. She turned fast. "Don't move," she whispered. His eyes opened, confused. "They found your scent," she said. "But not me." He blinked. "How?" "Because I've been near you too long. Your scent. It's on me. I masked you without knowing." She pulled out her blade. The figure was close now. She stepped out of the cave to face it. The jungle was silent, like even nature, held its breath. The armored figure spoke, voice robotic and cruel. "Return the human now." "No," she said. It tilted its head. "You are infected. It is already affecting your judgment." "I know," she replied. Before it could move, she attacked. Her blade struck fast, but it blocked. Sparks flew. They moved like lightning, trading strikes and dodges. She was faster, but it was heavier, stronger. It caught her arm and slammed her into a tree. Inside the cave, Dax tried to stand. He saw her struggling, heard the grunts of pain. He reached for a sharp rock, anything to help. Outside, Solara's breath came in gasps. Her blade was gone. Her armor cracked. The figure raised a weapon, aimed at her heart. Then it froze. A rock hit its head from behind. Dax stood there, barely able to walk, but his eyes held fire. "Get away from her." The figure turned. "Fool!" It fired, but Solara was already moving. She leapt between them, caught the blast in her side. She hit the ground hard, smoke rising from her armor. "No." Dax dropped beside her, holding her close. She coughed, blood on her lips. But she was alive. "You idiot," she whispered. "Why didn't you run?" "Because you didn't." The figure aimed again, but before it could fire, Solara triggered a hidden charge beneath her armor. The explosion blew them both back, Dax and the attacker. When the smoke cleared, the figure was gone, melted into the jungle. Dax crawled back to her. She was burned, bleeding, barely conscious. "Stay with me," he said. She looked at him, eyes weak but locked on his. I don't understand you, she breathed. But I feel like I'm becoming something new. He nodded. So am I. She closed her eyes, not in fear, but in peace. Something between them had changed again. Not just survival, not just chemistry. Something real. Solara opened her eyes slowly. Pain throbbed through her body, but the sky above was calm. Pale light filtered through the cave's ceiling, and Dax sat nearby, eyes watching her like a soldier on guard. He hadn't slept. His shirt was torn, bandages wrapped around his ribs, and one hand rested near a sharp branch. You're awake, he said quietly. She tried to sit, but her body protested. Still, she managed. You didn't leave, she whispered. No, he said. Not after what you did. There was a pause between them, heavy with meaning. The jungle outside was quiet now, but neither of them trusted the silence. The figure from before had vanished, but they both knew it would return. Or worse, send others. I've seen things, Solara said after a moment. Species who think they can shape love into chemicals, turn it into something controlled. My people did that too. Did it work? He asked. She shook her head. No, because nothing explains this. Dax smiled faintly. Your people will hunt you now, because of me. They already are. He leaned forward. Then you should leave me. You still don't get it, she said. I don't want to. Their eyes held again. There were no lies in that moment, no confusion, only something dangerous and deep, something both of them knew was changing who they were. Suddenly the cave trembled. Rocks shook. A low hum rolled through the ground. What now? Dax muttered, standing with effort. Solara's expression hardened. Varnak Corps scouts. They scan land with seismic waves. That means they're ready to level this area. Why? To erase any trace of you. And me. Dax helped her up, his arm firm around her back. Then we move. They made their way deeper into the jungle. The trees were thicker, the roots wider. Strange alien birds scattered as they passed. Solara's breathing grew heavier with every step. She tried to hide it, but Dax noticed. Tell me the truth, he said. How bad is the injury? She stopped walking. Her legs shook. It's getting worse, she admitted. I need time to heal. I need shelter. Somewhere safe. Dax thought for a moment. I saw an old crash site a day ago. Looked abandoned. I didn't go near it then. But we can reach it. Solara nodded. Show me. By nightfall, they reached the edge of a deep ravine. Below, tangled metal glowed faintly, an ancient shipwreck, half swallowed by the jungle. Vines wrapped around. Its bones and parts of the hull blinked like dying stars. They climbed down slowly. Inside it was dark but dry. The walls hummed softly, old systems still breathing. Solara sank against a wall, exhausted. Dax searched the wreck for supplies. He found power cells, dried emergency rations, and one working med kit. Barely. He returned and knelt beside her. Her eyes were dull now, her green skin pale. This might help, he said. She didn't speak. She just nodded. He injected the serum into her shoulder. Her body jolted and her breath caught. For a second he thought she would pass out again, but her fingers gripped his wrist tightly. Stay close, she whispered. I will. They sat, in silence. The storm outside passed. Inside the wreck, warmth returned slowly. You know what I think? Dax said after a while. What? I think whatever this is, us, it's bigger than your orders, bigger than your war. Solara opened her eyes, and for the first time, they didn't look like a soldier's. They looked like someone beginning to understand herself for the first time. I think so too. By morning the storm had passed and the jungle was still. The air outside the wreck was warm and heavy, but inside it felt like another world. Dax was already awake, watching the old systems of the ship blink quietly. Solara stirred behind him, her breathing slow, more steady than before. The healing serum had helped. Her skin no longer burned and her vision had cleared. She felt the strength returning to her body. But something else had changed too. In the silence of the night, she had listened to her heart more than ever before. And it scared her. She stood, slowly, her limbs stiff but stronger. Dax turned and smiled. "You look better," she nodded. "I feel better. Because of you." He shrugged. "You saved me first." They stood there, facing each other in the quiet ruin of an old war. Metal, walls still held the marks of battles long gone, but here they were, two enemies brought together by instinct, scent, survival, and something deeper. "We can't stay here much longer," Solara said. "They will track the wreck soon. It sends out a low signal every few hours." Then, "Where do we go?" he asked. "There's a place," she said. "A deep-root canyon. My people abandoned it long ago. The jungle took it back. But I remember it. Safe?" "Not from the jungle," she said. "But from them?" "Yes." They packed what little they had. Dax limped less now. His wounds were healing. Solara's pain had faded, but not her confusion. Every time she looked at him, her thoughts swirled. His scent no longer overwhelmed her. Now it comforted her, pulled her closer. As they moved through the jungle again, she kept glancing at him. He noticed but didn't say anything until they reached a stream and she stopped. "Say it," he said gently. "What?" "Whatever's been sitting on your tongue since morning." She hesitated, then took a breath. "You don't feel like a stranger anymore." He smiled. "You don't either." She looked down. "This isn't just instinct, is it?" He stepped closer. "No, it's something real." She wanted to say more, but her earpiece, she thought she had destroyed it, crackled faintly. She ripped it from her pack. Somehow the signal had reactivated. Voice came through, sharp and cold. "Solara, we have your scent match. The traitor human is with you. You've broken code. Do not run. Return now or face cleansing." Her hands trembled. Dax heard every word. "They found us," he said. She looked up, her face hard. "I'm not going back. I don't want you to die because of me." "You don't get to decide that," she said. Before he could answer, the jungle lit up. Red tracer lights streamed through the trees. Dropships hovered above the canopy, and hunter squads were already landing. "We have to run," she said, grabbing his hand. "No," Dax said. "We can't keep running forever." She stared at him. "I've been hunted all my life," he said. "For being different, for not fitting in. But now I'm done hiding." "And what will you do?" "Stand." She saw it in his eyes. He meant it. And for the first time in her life, she didn't want to protect him because she was stronger. She wanted to stand beside him. The jungle burned with red light from the descending Varnak ships. Trees cracked as mechanical feet landed in perfect lines. Soldiers fanned out, armed with stun blades and pulse rifles. Their orders were simple: retrieve Solara, eliminate the human, and erase the failure. Solara and Dax stood at the edge of the canyon. Below them was the overgrown root valley she had spoken of, but there was no time to run now. The enemy was already closing in. Dax held a metal staff he had taken from the wreck. It wasn't much, but he stood tall. Solara stepped beside him, blades drawn. Her hand brushed against his, and for a second the fear in her chest melted away. "I never thought I'd die like this," he said with a smirk. "You're not going to die," she said. "Not while I'm standing." The first wave came fast. 4 hunters moving in formation. Solara launched forward, her movements sharp and brutal. She fought like her life had no weight, like the only thing that mattered was keeping him breathing. Dax covered her side, striking low when one enemy lunged. His arms shook from the effort, but he didn't stop. Together, they pushed back the first squad, but more came. From the treetops, drones flew in. Solara grabbed a fallen rifle and fired into the air, taking one down. The others dodged and circled. Dax pulled her behind a stone. "We're going to get surrounded." She stared at him, breathing hard. "Then we make a choice." He raised a brow. "What kind of choice?" "I surrender. Alone. Maybe they'll let you go. No. Dax, I said no. His voice was hard, unshaken. He stepped forward, out of cover. A red spotlight found him instantly, weapons locked onto his chest. But before anyone fired, he shouted loud and clear, "Your weapons don't scare me. Your soldiers don't matter, because I already changed one of you." He looked at Zalara, then back at the sky. "You're afraid. That's why you're here with full force. Because one connection, one bond, was enough to threaten your entire belief." Silence fell over the jungle. The commander's voice crackled through the speakers above. "You think you're important, human?" "No," Dax replied. "But she is. And you're terrified of what she's becoming." The light dimmed slightly. Then one of the ships powered down its engines. Another followed. The soldiers paused, not out of mercy, but confusion. Doubt. The moment of hesitation, Zalara stepped forward beside Dax. She looked directly at the nearest scout. "I was loyal once," she said, "but now I see clearer. This human? He showed me who I really am. You trained me to suppress instincts. But this one? It woke me up." She dropped her weapons. "Come take me. But know this. If you hurt him, I'll tear your ships apart with my bare hands." The tension cracked. And then, something unexpected happened. The ships didn't fire. Instead, one of them slowly rose and turned away. Then another. And another. Someone, some commander high above, had made a choice. They were letting them go. The soldiers pulled back, melting into the forest like ghosts. The lights faded. The sky returned to normal. Dax let out a long breath. What just happened? "They feared the truth," Zalara said. "Not us. What we represented." He smiled weakly. "So what? Now?" She looked at him, eyes full of fire and peace all at once. "Now," she said, stepping closer. "We stop running. Together." He nodded. And in the heart of a jungle meant to kill them both, two enemies became something new. Proof that even in the deepest corners of war and instinct, connection could rewrite destiny.